Hi everyone. If you've already seen the intro to this story on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook, you can skip ahead to 2 minutes and 45 seconds. It's marked as full story on the progress bar. For better pacing, you can also set the playback speed to 1.3x. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any new stories. I won't keep you any longer. Enjoy listening. Cheers. My family disowned me at dinner. 1 week later, my company bought their debt. My father told me to leave his house before dessert, and my mother did not even look up from her plate. My brother smiled like he had been waiting his whole life to watch me finally get thrown out. My name is Daniel Mercer. I am 34, and for most of my adult life, my family believed I ran a tiny accounting firm that barely paid my rent. I let them believe that because explaining success to people committed to misunderstanding you is just another way of begging. That Sunday dinner was supposed to be about my parents' anniversary. I brought flowers, a bottle of wine my mother liked, and the same polite smile I wore every time I sat across from people who treated me like a guest they regretted inviting. My older brother Ryan arrived late in a leased black Mercedes and tossed the keys on the counter like he wanted everyone to hear them land. "Still driving that little gray car, Dan?" he asked, leaning back in his chair. At some point, being humble just starts looking like giving up. My mother laughed softly the way she always did when Ryan was cruel but convenient. I said, "The car gets me where I need to go." Ryan grinned. That sounds exactly like something a man says when he has nowhere impressive to be. My father did not laugh. He just stared at me with that tired disappointment he had perfected over 30 years. He owned Mercer Home Supply, a regional building materials company that used to be respected in 3 counties. Ryan had joined him after business school and became the golden son overnight. I had chosen finance work, then debt restructuring, then my own company. To them, that meant spreadsheets, small clients, and no ambition. Halfway through dinner, my father announced that the company was reorganizing for growth. That was the phrase he used. Growth. Not missed payroll, not supplier lawsuits, not a bank threatening to call secured loans. When I asked if everything was stable, Ryan's fork hit his plate. "Do not start pretending you understand real business," he said. "You reconcile receipts for dentists." My mother's face tightened. "Daniel, this family needs builders, not people who hide behind calculators." I felt something cold settle behind my ribs. "I was only asking if you needed help." My father pushed his chair back. "Help from you would embarrass me more than bankruptcy." The room went quiet, but Ryan broke it with a small laugh. Then my mother said the sentence that finally ended something in me. "There is no place in this family for men without ambition." I stood up slowly. My father pointed toward the hallway. "Leave this house, Daniel. Do not come back until you become someone worth respecting." I walked out without telling them that my company had received a call from their bank 3 days earlier. The bank wanted to sell a distressed debt package, and at the top of the file was Mercer Home Supply. I sat in my car for 10 minutes before I started the engine. Not because I was shocked. I had been training myself for that dinner for years. What surprised me was how calm I felt once it was finally over. My phone buzzed before I reached the main road. It was Ryan. "You made Dad miserable on his anniversary," his message said. "Do everyone a favor and stop trying to insert yourself where you do not belong." Then another one arrived from my mother. "Your father is under pressure. A good son would not have challenged him at the table." I almost laughed because in their version of the night, I had challenged him. Not Ryan, who mocked me. Not my father, who ordered me out. Me, because I asked if the business was stable. By the time I reached my apartment, my business partner Maya had called twice. Maya knew more about Mercer Home Supply than anyone in my family realized. She had spent the weekend on the bank's preliminary debt file because our firm, Northline Recovery Group, specialized in exactly that kind of mess. Companies with assets, bad leadership, unpaid vendors, and creditors who wanted out early. When I called her back, she did not waste time. "The Mercer package is uglier than the bank suggested," she said. "There are overdue supplier balances, 2 cross-collateralized loans, a warehouse lien, and something weird with payroll taxes. Your father has maybe 30 days before this becomes loud." I closed my eyes. "Is it legally clean for us to bid?" "It is clean if you disclose the conflict internally and recuse yourself from the valuation committee," Maya said. "But emotionally, Daniel, this is radioactive." I looked at the flowers on the passenger seat. I had forgotten to leave them at my parents' house. "My family disowned me tonight," I said. Maya went silent for a moment. "Then you need to be very careful not to make business decisions with a wound in your chest." That was why I trusted her. She did not flatter me. She did not feed the revenge fantasy. She kept me honest. "I am not trying to destroy them," I said. "I just want the truth on paper." The next morning, I forwarded Ryan's messages and my mother's text to a private folder. I did not know why yet. Maybe because something in me understood that one day they would deny all of it. At 9:14, my father sent one sentence. "Your mother is upset and you owe this family an apology." At 9:18, the bank sent our firm the full data room access. At 9:22, I opened the first folder and saw a document titled Emergency Liquidity Plan. The author was Ryan. The first line said DUEB, do not disclose current debt exposure to Daniel Mercer under any circumstances. The file bothered me more than the debt itself. Families hide money problems all the time. Pride is expensive, but Ryan had written my name into a plan like I was a threat, not a son. I spent the morning reading quietly while my analyst, Priya, built a timeline from bank statements, vendor notices, and board minutes. Mercer Home Supply had not failed overnight. It had been bleeding for 2 years. My father had expanded into custom kitchens right before housing slowed. Ryan pushed a glossy showroom, new trucks, a country club sponsorship, and a campaign that made them look prosperous while invoices aged past 90 days. At lunch, my Aunt Linda called. She rarely called unless my mother had assigned her a role. Daniel, sweetheart, your mother is devastated, she said. You know how sensitive your father is about the company. I said, I asked one question. You made him feel judged, she replied, gentle and sharp at the same time. Ryan says you were smug, like you were waiting for him to fail. There it was, the family machine. One person hurt you, another translated your pain into disrespect, and a third called to make you apologize for bleeding. Aunt Linda, did anyone mention what Dad said to me? She sighed. Your father says dramatic things when he is stressed. And when I say something calm, it becomes an attack? She paused too long. I think you should be the bigger person. I had spent my childhood being the bigger person. When Ryan crashed my car at 19, I was told not to ruin his internship by involving insurance. When Ryan needed help with accounting in college, I edited his assignments while he told everyone I was antisocial. When my father opened the company's second location, Ryan got a title. I got a speech about finding a respectable path. That afternoon, Maya stepped into my office and shut the door. We need to talk about governance, she said. If Northline bids on this debt, your family cannot be able to claim later that you used inside information. I have no inside information from them, I said. They made sure of that. That is exactly what makes it dangerous, Maya replied. They will still rewrite the story. She slid a folder across my desk. It was our conflict protocol. Independent pricing, outside counsel, board approval, and my removal from the bid. I signed every page. At 6, my mother called again. Her voice was soft, the voice she used when obedience had to sound like love. Come over tomorrow, she said. Your father is willing to forgive you if you apologize in front of Ryan. I asked, what exactly am I apologizing for? Her answer was quiet. For forgetting your place. I went to my parents' house the next evening because part of me still wanted to believe there was a line they would not cross twice. My mother opened the door with red eyes and a practiced smile. Thank you for coming, she said. Please do not make this harder than it has to be. Ryan was already in the living room with my father, one ankle resting on his knee, expensive watch angled toward the lamp. My father did not stand. I said, I am here to talk, not perform. Ryan chuckled. That is the tone I warned Mom about. My mother folded her hands. Daniel, no one is attacking you. We simply need you to recognize how your behavior affects this family. I looked at my father. You told me to leave and not come back until I became someone worth respecting. He looked annoyed, like I had quoted him rudely. I was under pressure, and you chose the worst possible moment to question my judgment. Ryan leaned forward. Because that is what he does. He waits until men are dealing with real problems, then he offers little spreadsheet opinions. I felt the old heat rise in my face, but I kept my voice even. Are there real problems? My father's jaw tightened. My mother spoke before he could. See, that is what we mean. You take one stressful comment and turn it into an interrogation. They were not denying it. They were moving the walls around it. Ryan stood and walked to the bar cart. Dad built something. I am building on it. You rent office space above a pharmacy and act like you invented capitalism. I could have told him that Northline occupied 2 floors downtown under a holding company name because I hated attention. I could have told him that the office above the pharmacy was a satellite address for mail and small client consultations. Instead, I watched him pour whiskey he could not afford. My mother placed a hand over mine. Apologize to your father, and this ugliness can end tonight. That is not an apology request, I said. That is a loyalty test. Her fingers went stiff. You always make love sound transactional. I almost smiled. In this house, it usually comes with conditions. My father slammed his palm on the armrest. Enough. Your brother carries this family's name in the business community. You carry resentment. For 1 second, Ryan's expression changed. Not anger. Fear. It vanished quickly, but I saw it. Then my father added, If you cannot respect the people above you, you can leave again. I stood up. This time nobody stopped me. As I reached the door, Ryan followed and spoke low enough that our parents could not hear. Stay out of Mercer Home Supply, Daniel. You have no idea what you are touching. Ryan's warning stayed with me all night. Not because he sounded powerful, because he sounded cornered. People only tell you to stay out when they are afraid you already know where to look. The next morning, Priya brought me a printed timeline. She had highlighted transfers between Mercer Home Supply and a small consulting LLC called Ridgeway Strategies. The invoices were vague, labeled growth advisory, market positioning, or executive development. Alone, they were modest. Together, they looked like cash leaving while vendors waited. "Who owns Ridgeway?" I asked. Priya pointed to a note. "Registered agent is a lawyer. Beneficial owner is hidden behind another LLC, but the mailing address matches Ryan's condo building." I leaned back slowly. "He paid himself consulting fees from a company he was already paid to manage." "That is one possibility," Priya said carefully. "Another is that someone used his address." Careful language mattered in our office. We dealt in documents. Before I could answer, my phone lit up with a message from my cousin Beth. "I heard you upset everyone again. Ryan says you are jealous because he actually became important." I stared at the message until the words blurred. Then another text came from a family friend, Mr. Alvarez, who had supplied Mercer Home Supply for 20 years. "Daniel, I know this is awkward, but your father is not returning calls. They owe my company for 4 deliveries. I was told not to contact you, but I remember you as the reasonable one." That hurt more than Ryan's insult. Mr. Alvarez had been at our summer barbecues when I was a kid. If he was texting me, the problem had leaked beyond pride and into livelihoods. I called him from my desk. "I cannot discuss their finances," I said. "But are your employees affected?" He exhaled. "My drivers are asking if routes are being cut. Your brother promised payment last Friday, then posted photos from a charity golf dinner." The photo arrived. Ryan stood beside my father in a navy suit, smiling under a banner that said, "Mercer Home Supply, Platinum Sponsor." That evening, my mother called my desk. "People are saying you are digging into your father's business," she said. "Who are people?" "You know how small towns are," she replied. "Please stop embarrassing us." I looked at the photo of Ryan under the sponsor banner. "Mom, is Dad paying his suppliers?" Her voice hardened instantly. "There you go again, acting like a stranger with a clipboard." Then she said something that made my hand tighten around the phone. "If you damage Ryan's future, do not expect this family to forgive you." By Wednesday, the conflict was no longer private. That is how families like mine operate. They do not just punish you at the dinner table, they send the story ahead of you so every room already knows your assigned role. At noon, I met an old college friend for coffee near the courthouse. Before I had taken off my coat, he said, "I heard things are tense with your dad." I kept my face neutral. "That depends on what you heard." He looked uncomfortable. "Ryan told people you were trying to use some finance connections to pressure the family business. He made it sound like you were bitter because your father never gave you a position." There it was. They were not simply hiding debt from me anymore. They were preparing the town to see me as the villain before the truth arrived. Back at North Line, our outside counsel, Marissa Chen, joined Maya and me on a video call. She had reviewed the bank's documents and the conflict memo. "Legally, your firm can bid," Marissa said. "But if your family goes public, they will claim predatory conduct. You need clean process, clean pricing, and no direct contact from you until ownership transfers." Maya nodded. "Daniel should not negotiate the purchase." "I agree," I said. Marissa leaned closer to her camera. "There is another issue. The bank file includes a personal guarantee signed by your father and a collateral pledge on the family home. There is also a second lien connected to a warehouse under your brother's holding company. I had known the debts were serious, but hearing family home made my stomach pull tight. That house was not warm to me, but it was still the house where my height was marked on the pantry door." Maya watched my expression. "We can walk away." I shook my head. "If we walk away, someone else buys it. Maybe someone with no reason to keep the business alive." "That cannot be the reason we buy it," she said. "Saving people who would burn you is still a conflict." Before I could answer, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a group chat with my mother, Father Ryan, and me. My father had never used that chat except for holiday logistics. His message said, "For the health of this family, Daniel will not be included in business discussions going forward." Ryan replied 30 seconds later, "Agreed. He has already shown where his loyalty is." I typed nothing. I just took screenshots. Then my mother added, "Daniel, please do not force us to protect ourselves from you." Marissa was still on the call, watching my face. I turned the phone toward the camera. She read the messages and said, "Save everything. From this point on, they are building a record too." The first public humiliation came on Friday night at the Chamber of Commerce dinner. I went because Northline had sponsored a table months earlier through a portfolio company. I did not expect my family there. Ryan saw me before I saw him. He crossed the ballroom with 2 local bankers and a woman from the county development board. His smile was too wide. "Daniel," he said loudly, "I did not know they invited bookkeeping vendors to these things." The woman laughed politely. One banker looked at his shoes. I said, "Good to see you, Ryan." He put a hand on my shoulder, squeezing just hard enough to perform affection for the audience. "You should come by Mercer sometime. We can show you what a real operation looks like." I felt nearby people turn toward us. That was Ryan's talent. He could make an insult sound like a toast. Then my father appeared behind him. Daniel is busy with his little practice. There it was again. Little, small, safe, contained. I could have introduced Maya, who was standing 10 feet away beside a real estate investor who once called my firm the quietest shark in distressed credit. I could have corrected the story with a sentence. Instead, I watched my father choose a lie in public. A photographer came over and asked for a Mercer family photo. My mother stepped between Ryan and my father, then looked at me as if I had wandered into the wrong frame. Maybe just the company leadership, she said softly. Ryan's smile did not move. That makes sense. Daniel hates business attention. The flash went off without me. 10 minutes later, Maya found me near the exit. That was deliberate, she said. I know. You are letting them define you. No, I said, watching Ryan accept compliments under the chandelier. I'm letting them create evidence. My voice sounded colder than I intended. The photo appeared next morning on the Chamber's social page. My father, my mother, and Ryan stood together under the caption, Mercer Home Supply, a family legacy of leadership. I was visible in the background, half cropped out, holding a glass of water like a stranger. By noon, Ryan had shared it with his own caption. Real businesses are built by people who show up, not people who criticize from the sidelines. The comments filled with little flames of approval. Former classmates, suppliers, cousins, even my Aunt Linda reacted with hearts. At 2:06, Mr. Alvarez texted me again. Your brother just promised payment after the bank releases funds next week. Is that real? I looked at the bank schedule on my desk. There were no funds coming next week. There was only a default notice scheduled for Monday morning. Monday morning arrived with the kind of quiet that only happens before a company realizes the floor is gone. The bank issued the default notice at 8:30. By 9:05, my phone was lighting up with messages from people who had spent the weekend liking Ryan's post. Beth wrote, Is it true your dad's company is in trouble? A former classmate wrote, Awkward question, but do you still talk to your family? My mother wrote nothing. Ryan wrote nothing. My father wrote nothing. At Northline, the bidding process moved without me. Maya chaired the investment committee. Priya presented the numbers. Marissa watched from the legal side, making sure my silence stayed clean. I sat in the room because I owned the firm, but I did not speak when pricing was discussed. The package was risky but viable. Mercer Home Supply still had valuable inventory, good supplier relationships, long-term commercial customers, and real estate that could support a restructuring. The problem was not the bones. The problem was the people steering it toward a wall. After the meeting, Priya stayed behind. There is something I did not want to say in front of committee, she said. I closed the door. Then say it now. She placed 2 pages on the table. The payroll tax issue does not look accidental. Deductions were taken from employees, but some payments were delayed. The cash went through operating accounts, then portions were moved to Ridgeway. I felt my throat tighten. Are you saying employees withheld taxes may have been used for cash flow? I am saying the pattern deserves a forensic accountant. That was the moment my anger changed shape. Family insults were one thing. Vendor delays were another. But using employee money to keep a fake luxury image alive crossed a line that had nothing to do with me. I called Maya into the room and showed her the pages. She read them twice. If this is true, your brother did not just mismanage. He exposed workers. Can we confirm it before closing? We can request supplemental records through the bank, she said. But if Mercer refuses, that tells us something. An hour later, the bank sent our supplemental request to my father's CFO, a woman named Ellen Price. Ellen had worked for him since I was 17. She used to correct my math homework when I waited for rides at the warehouse. At 5:40, an email came back from Ellen's account. Records are unavailable due to system transition. Maya looked at the email and frowned. That is oddly vague. Then my personal phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. A woman whispered, Daniel, it is Ellen. Please do not tell them I called you. Ryan is making us delete things. Ellen's voice sounded smaller than I remembered. When I was a teenager, she had been the only adult there who treated me like I was not a failed draft of Ryan. I shut my office door. Ellen, are you safe to talk? For maybe 3 minutes, she said. Ryan told everyone the bank is being difficult because you poisoned the relationship. I closed my eyes. He knows Northline is involved? I do not think he knows it is your firm, she said. He says you have friends in finance. Your father believes him because that is easier than admitting the books are bad. What is being deleted? She breathed unsteadily. Emails about Ridgeway, vendor promises, and payroll timing. Ryan said old drafts create confusion. He told IT to clean shared folders before the bank visit. Do not send me anything directly, I said. You need a lawyer before you become the scapegoat. Her laugh was bitter. Daniel, I already am the scapegoat. Ryan told your father the late taxes were my mistake. I felt my jaw lock. Were they? No, I warned them 6 times. The line went silent. I heard a door close on her end. Ellen, hang up if someone is there. She whispered, "Meet me at St. Mark's parking lot tonight at 8. I kept copies because I knew they would blame me." Before I could answer, the call ended. Maya did not like it. Marissa liked it even less. "No secret document handoffs," Marissa said. "You are too close to this." She called my personal phone, I said. If Ryan is destroying records, she may need protection. "Then I go with you," Maya said. "We do not take originals. We photograph nothing unless council approves. We listen." At 8, rain was tapping against the windshield when Ellen pulled into the lot in an old Subaru. She looked exhausted, her hair pulled back, her hands shaking around a paper coffee cup. She got into the back seat of Maya's car, not mine. "Your brother is lying to everyone," she said before the door fully closed. "And your father knows more than he admits." Maya kept her voice calm. "Tell us only what you personally saw." Ellen nodded. "Ryan created Ridgeway to pull money out without making it look like salary. Your father approved it because Ryan said investors cared about executive incentives. Then payroll got tight, and Ryan started choosing who got paid based on who complained loudest." I asked, "Why hide it from me specifically?" Ellen looked at me. "Because your father said you were the only person in the family who would understand the documents." Then she slid a sealed envelope onto the seat. "And because there is one loan your mother signed that nobody told you about." Maya did not let me open the envelope in the car. She drove us straight to Marissa's office where the lights were still on. Ellen sat in the conference room with a paper cup of water, staring at the table like she expected Ryan to burst through the door. Marissa opened the envelope with gloves for procedure, not drama. Inside were copies of board notes, email chains, and a loan amendment tied to their house. My mother's signature was on the final page. I stared at it. "She told me she did not understand business," I said. "She always said Dad and Ryan handled everything." Ellen looked down. She understood enough to ask whether Daniel could ever claim part of the house. The room went still. Marissa lifted one page. "This email says Daniel must not be made aware of the home pledge because he may interfere or attempt to shame the family." "Who wrote that?" Ellen swallowed. "Your mother." For years I had told myself my mother was passive. Cold, yes. Biased, yes. But passive. Her words in black ink felt like a locked room inside a house I thought I knew. Maya touched the edge of the document. "There is more." The second file showed Ryan's warehouse company borrowing against inventory owned by Mercer Home Supply. A third showed delayed reimbursements. A fourth showed a draft press statement from Ridgeway. Marissa read it slowly. "Mercer Home Supply has faced temporary pressure due to harassment from an estranged family member attempting to interfere with company financing." I felt heat crawl up my neck. "They were going to blame me publicly." Ellen nodded. "Ryan said if the bank forced default, the story had to become you. He said people love a jealous brother narrative." Maya's face hardened. "That is not just family manipulation. That is reputational warfare." The worst document was not financial. It was an email from my father to Ryan sent 2 days before the anniversary dinner. "Daniel is too soft to fight back. If we make him feel guilty enough, he may help without asking questions." I read it 3 times. My chest hurt in a clean, humiliating way. Ellen wiped her eyes. "I am sorry, Daniel. I should have told you sooner." I said, "You are telling me now." Marissa gathered the pages. "We need to preserve this through counsel. Ellen, you need employment representation. Daniel, you need distance." But distance had already failed. They had dragged my name into a plan before I even knew there was a battlefield. Then Ellen looked at me and said the thing that changed the next move. "Ryan has a board call tomorrow. He is going to propose firing me and naming you as the source of the leak." The board call was not supposed to include me, and legally it did not. Marissa arranged for Ellen's attorney to attend, while Maya and I listened only to the record preservation portion. Every step had to be clean because my family preferred stories over facts. Ryan opened with confidence. He always sounded best when nobody had documents. "We have reason to believe Ellen Price shared confidential company materials with Daniel Mercer," he said. "My brother has been unstable since a family disagreement, and he may be attempting to influence creditors for personal revenge." Ellen's attorney interrupted. "Please identify the evidence supporting that accusation." Ryan hesitated for half a second. "The timing speaks for itself." "The timing is not evidence," the attorney said. My father's voice came next, rough and defensive. "We are not here to conduct a trial. We are here to protect the company." Ellen's attorney replied, "Then preserve every email, message, invoice, payroll file, and consulting agreement related to Ridgeway Strategies." Silence hit the line. Ryan said, "That request is outside the scope of this meeting." "No, it is exactly the scope," the attorney said. "Ms. Price will not be scapegoated for decisions documented above her authority." I sat still. Maya watched me from across the table, ready to end the call if I lost control. I did not. I just listened to my father protect Ryan, while the woman who had tried to warn him fought alone. That afternoon, the betrayal went public. A local business blog posted, "Mercer family tensions complicate local companies' financing." It quoted an unnamed source claiming an estranged relative had contacted creditors after being excluded from leadership. They did not name me, but everyone knew. Within an hour, my inbox filled. Some were supportive, some were curious. One former client asked if Northline was involved in a personal dispute. That was the real damage. Not gossip. Doubt. Maya came into my office without knocking. "We need a communications plan," she said. "Silence is professional until someone uses it as a weapon." "I will not smear them back." "I am not asking you to smear them," she said. "I am asking you to protect the firm your employees helped build." That landed. My family could hurt me. I had survived that. But if their lies touched Northline's people, silence became selfish. At 4:30, our counsel sent a preservation letter to Mercer Home Supply, Ridgeway Strategies, and Ryan's Warehouse Company. At 4:47, Ryan texted me, "You just crossed a line you cannot uncross." At 4:49, the bank called Maya. Their credit committee had accepted Northline's bid. I thought acceptance of the bid would feel like control. It did not. It felt like standing with a match in a dry field and pretending the wind was predictable. The purchase would not close for several days. Until then, my family still did not know Northline was the buyer. The bank referred to us only through a subsidiary, NRG Asset Holdings, which was standard for our deals. Standard suddenly felt like a mask. That night, I stayed alone in the office after everyone left. I opened the chamber photo and stared at myself in the background, half visible, half erased. My phone rang at 9:12. It was my mother. "Daniel, I need you to stop whatever you are doing," she said. I did not answer immediately. She continued, softer. "Your father is not sleeping. Ryan is under enormous pressure. If you have any compassion left, you will back away." "Back away from what?" "Do not play games with me," she snapped, then softened. "You know people. You always knew people. I underestimated that, and I am willing to admit it." That was the closest she had come to saying I mattered, and it still arrived wrapped around a demand. "Did you write that I should not know about the home pledge?" I asked. The silence was long enough to be an answer. She said, "You would have judged us." "I would have warned you." "You would have made us feel small," she said. There it was, the real crime. Not that I had harmed them, that I might have seen them clearly. When I hung up, I felt hollow. I had built a company around distressed situations because numbers told the truth when people refused to. But numbers did not tell you what to do when the people in trouble were the same people who taught you to apologize for existing. Maya found me still at my desk the next morning. "You look like you slept in that chair," she said. "I am thinking about withdrawing before closing." She did not react quickly. That scared me more than argument. "Is that a business decision or a son decision?" "I do not know anymore." She sat across from me. "If we withdraw, the second bidder is Holden Capital. They liquidate fast. They will auction the warehouse, call the home guarantee, and fire half the staff." I rubbed my face. "So if I buy it, I am the monster. If I walk away, I let worse people do it." Maya's voice softened. "No, Daniel. If you buy it cleanly and restructure it fairly, you become the adult in a room full of children." At noon, Marissa confirmed closing for Friday. Attached to the email was the first mandatory meeting notice to Mercer Home Supply. The new creditor requested all guarantors present. My parents, Ryan, Ellen, and me. The 48 hours before closing were the longest of my career. Every instinct I had as a son told me to call my father and give him a last chance. Every instinct as a business owner told me that would be reckless. So, I did what my family always mocked me for doing. I built a file. Marissa preserved the texts, excluding me from business discussions, and called me disloyal. Maya documented every step of the bid process, including my recusal. Priya finished a clean timeline showing when Ridgeway was paid, when vendors were delayed, when payroll obligations were postponed, and when Ryan's warehouse benefited. Ellen, through her attorney, provided a statement. She did not dramatize. That made it stronger. I warned executive leadership repeatedly that vendor and payroll timing created legal and operational risk, her statement read. I was instructed to stop putting concerns in writing. I read that line 3 times. I knew who had taught Ryan to fear written truth. On Thursday night, Ryan tried a different tactic. He sent an email instead of a text, copying them. "Daniel, despite your recent behavior, we are willing to resolve this privately. If you have influenced any creditor, you need to undo it before permanent damage occurs. Family matters should stay inside the family." It was almost elegant. No direct threat, no admission, just velvet around a blade. Marissa drafted the response. It said I would not discuss any creditor matter, that all allegations should be directed to counsel and must preserve records. It was sterile and perfect. My mother replied within 7 minutes. "I hope one day you understand what you are doing to us." I stared at that sentence until it lost meaning. What I was doing to them. Not what Ryan did to employees, not what my father signed, not what she hid. Me, because I was no longer standing in the corner where they put me. Friday morning, I put on a charcoal suit and the plain watch my grandmother gave me before she died. She had been the only Mercer who valued quiet competence. At 10 Wera, closing documents were signed. NRG Asset Holdings became secured creditor on Mercer Home Supply's loans, the warehouse lien, and the home guarantee. At 10:30, Maya placed the meeting folder in front of me. "You do not have to attend," she said. "I do," I replied, "but I am not going as their son." At 10:57, I stood outside the conference room where my family waited to meet the stranger controlling their future. Then I heard Ryan laugh through the door. "I hope this creditor is reasonable," he said. "At least it cannot be Daniel." I opened the conference room door and the laugh died before I took my second step. Ryan was standing near the window with his phone in his hand. My mother sat beside my father wearing pearls and a funeral expression. Ellen sat at the far end with her attorney, pale but steady. 2 bank lawyers were present with Marissa and Maya. My father looked confused first, then angry. "What are you doing here?" Ryan asked, but his voice cracked on the last word. Maya placed a folder at the head of the table. "Daniel Mercer is majority owner of Northline. Northline, through NRG Asset Holdings, is the secured creditor holding Mercer Home Supply's debt package." For once, Ryan had no performance. My mother whispered, "Daniel, this is not funny." I sat down across from my father. "I agree." My father's hands curled on the table. "You bought your own family's debts?" "No," I said. "My firm bought a distressed commercial debt package through a bank sale. I was recused from pricing and approval. You made sure I had no inside information, remember?" Ryan recovered enough to sneer. "This is revenge. You planned this because Dad put you in your place." Marissa slid a document forward. "The acquisition was reviewed by outside counsel. Any allegation should be directed to us in writing." My father ignored her and looked at me with sudden wounded dignity. "Daniel, I am your father. Whatever mistakes were made, you do not sit across from family like a creditor." I opened my folder and placed the first printed message on the table. It was his text from the group chat. "For the health of this family, Daniel will not be included in business discussions going forward." Then I placed Ryan's reply beneath it. "He has already shown where his loyalty is." Then my mother's. "Please do not force us to protect ourselves from you." The room went very still. I said, "You removed me as family when you thought I was powerless. You do not get to restore me as family because I became useful." My mother's eyes filled with tears. "You saved those?" "I saved everything after you taught me love could be denied and rewritten." Ryan pointed at Ellen. "She fed you lies." Ellen's attorney leaned forward. "My client has produced emails, warnings, and payment records. If you accuse her again, make sure your statement is accurate." Ryan sat back, his face red. Maya began distributing the restructuring summary. "There are 3 options: liquidation, enforcement, or conditional restructuring." My father's voice dropped. "What conditions?" I turned to the first page where every number had a consequence attached. Then I looked at Ryan and said, "We start with the cars." Ryan laughed once because he thought I was joking. Nobody else did. Maya read the first condition. "All luxury assets bought or leased through Mercer Home Supply will be sold or terminated, including the executive vehicles, country club sponsorship, and showroom contract." Ryan's face hardened. "You cannot make us live like failures." I looked at him. "No, Ryan, I can make the company stop financing the costume." The second condition was worse. Ridgeway Strategies would return questionable payments, and Ryan would step down during restructuring. If he refused, Northline would pursue the warehouse lien. My father turned to me. "That warehouse is your brother's future." "No," I said, "it is collateral tied to money he moved while employees waited." Maya continued. "Employees would be made current first. Vendors would receive signed payment dates. Mr. Alvarez's company would be paid first." "A public correction," she said. "Mercer Home Supply will retract any statement implying creditor interference. The correction will say financing issues came from internal management decisions." Ryan slammed his palm down. "You want us to humiliate ourselves." I did not raise my voice. "You humiliated yourselves. I am asking you to stop using my name to cover it." "And if we sign?" he asked. "Then the company survives," I said. "Ellen remains CFO. An outside controller reviews the books. You move to advisory. Ryan leaves management unless cleared." My mother whispered, "And our home?" "If you comply, the home guarantee is not enforced. If you hide assets, destroy records, or attack my firm again, that changes." For a long time, nobody spoke. Then Ellen signed her witness acknowledgement. My father signed next. My mother signed with shaking hands. Ryan refused until his attorney murmured something that drained his face. Then he signed too. The public correction went out the next morning. It was dry, corporate, and devastating. Comments vanished from Ryan's post. Vendors called my office to ask whether payment dates were real. They were. I did not go back to my parents' house. My mother called once crying and said, "I hope you are happy now." I told her the truth. "I am not happy, I am free." 6 months later, Mercer Home Supply was smaller and honest. Ellen ran finance. My father retired quietly. Ryan moved away and called me a thief. Maybe that version helps him sleep. As for me, I kept the old gray car because it made me smile. The people who called me small had performed success. I had built mine quietly. When they finally saw me clearly, I no longer needed them to respect me. And that's the end of this story. Whose side are you on? Share your opinion in the comments, leave a like, and subscribe with the notification bell on if you want more stories like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.